This is Ben and Skin on 97.1 The Freak.
Oh, man, we are rocking out. Ben and Skin Show 97.1 The Freak. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Ben, we are 1 hour away from a fun little announcement about our show. In fact, there's so many tentacles to this announcement, we can tell you that part of it ties back to an experience we had at a Dallas Maverick game when we were doing the post-game show from the, at the time it was called the old Number 7 Club, and we looked up and saw some Dallas royalty. So there's a lot going on here. Just make sure that you don't go anywhere. Big announcement coming up at 1:30, and we are smack dab in the middle of something that is so cool, and that is because Mark of the Dallas Mavericks, the great Mark Cuban, is hanging out with us in studio. He's already done an hour with us. We still have another segment to go because we've got to talk Dallas Mavericks basketball. But I think this has been, at least from my perspective, very revelatory about what the future of the Mavericks is and the position that it puts you and the team and the fan base in. I don't know if you're seeing this from fans out there, but at least, me and Ben seem to think that this is exceptional for the team to have the Adelsons and the Dumonts involved in ownership.
Yeah, there's no downside.
Yeah.
There's no downside at all.
Let's talk about your team. Man, you guys, 7 games over 500, despite having, I think, we're third or second in man games lost in injuries so far this year.
Yeah, more starting lineups than any other team. Yeah, it's been crazy.
23 starting lineups in 41 games.
Yeah, that's tough.
Where is your team? What do you think of this team?
I mean, I think when we get healthy, we're going to be really, really good. I mean, we've been beating losing to bad teams, but beating good teams while undermanned. I mean, think about it. When was the last game we didn't have 3 starters that weren't there?
Yeah.
And, I mean, losing Dante was big. Losing Josh was big. Obviously, Luka, enormous. D-Live, we're seeing, what a revelation he's been, right? We're 20-10 when he plays. And so it's just all the pieces are there. I'm not saying we can't improve, and we're not going to try to improve if the opportunity comes along, like always. But we've got so much heart in this team. And it's just when we have to, we step up, and so I'm ready to get everybody healthy.
Okay, there's so many ways I want to go here with regard to this team. Just specifically, the roller coaster of these last 5 or 6 games. You beat the Timberwolves, and I'm like, there's the signature win. That's the most important win of the season. Then you lose to the Grizzlies, and I'm like, okay, there's the signature loss of the year. And I'm like, and then you beat the Knicks. I'm like, okay, everything's back to normal. Yeah. Then you lose to the Pelicans, and they're missing their 4 best guys. Then when they have everybody and you don't have Luka, you beat them then. I'm like, what the hell is going on? It's so much fun. But what is this team?
It's weird. Like you saw the Warriors lost to the Grizzlies last night too. And remember, look, even when we played the Grizzlies, they had Desmond Bane and Marcus Smart, right? So it wasn't like they didn't, and other players who were good. But
and Marcus Smart showed out for the home. He's from
time.
here.
Yeah, he crushed us. But we were talking about this, and it's just like typically when you play against a team with their stars aren't their best defenders. So like last night when, yesterday afternoon when the Pelicans had their full complement, you knew who you could go at, right? When you play against young teams that all can defend and are long, those teams are harder to score on, believe it or not. And if 1 or 2 of their guys gets hot, you have a problem. And, it's just that's just it's a weird part of it, but it's like long, athletic, young players give us more problems than stars do.
Mm-hmm. I want to talk specifically about one person. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about this person because he's been one of the elite players, but he's missed a lot of games for injuries and other reasons, and he's bounced around, but he seems to be very happy here, and that is Kyrie Irving. And I knew Kyrie Irving was exceptional. I followed the league. He can play. I didn't know he was this. And what I mean is that there is a competitive drive to him that I did not know that he had, and we see it on defense and rebounding, and these are things that I did not know.
He can rebound a lot better than even I expected.
They're not long rebounds.
No,
he
they're
goes in traffic
and grabbing the ball with 2 hands. When you shake his hands are so strong. It is insane, right? I mean, and there's not like my hands with like half of a third of a tenth of a callus, right, from lifting weights. His hands are like rock hard type hands, and it's just like, you can see it because he's getting some rebounds that are just like, was that Kyrie?
Yeah. Okay. So there's so many things I want to talk about with Kyrie. It was a controversial trade just because of how it happened and what was going on in Brooklyn. What did you know about Kyrie before he got here, and what have you learned subsequently?
I mean, every player we talked to that played with him loved him. And, when you talk to the people around him on the external stuff, it was like you just got to get to know Kai. And they didn't feel like, other organizations had gotten to know him. And when you get to know him, then it's a two-way conversation. And I think, we've been able to, Nico, myself, the organization, J Kidd, have been able to get to know him. And once you understand, and you can even tell him, look, this is not a good thing, to get involved with. Let's just keep it to this or that. He's a smart guy. He's a really smart guy. And so he's not looking to create problems. He's just a very caring person. And sometimes, whether you're a basketball player or a business person or whatever it is, if you wear your heart on your sleeve on what you think and what you care about, not everybody's going to appreciate it in a social media world. And never have I seen Kai, since he's come, ever do something that is hurtful at all. He just cares about people. He just wants people to be well, and you can't not respect that.
What's the dynamic like between he and Luka?
They crack it up. They're just two, they're teammates. They get along. They're not, let's go out to dinner every night. But you see the pictures and you see them on the sidelines just yucking it up together, and total respect. And you can see, before the injuries, their chemistry on the court was growing. And the most important part is Kai knows it's Luka's team. There's absolutely no misunderstanding about that whatsoever. And then the question everybody would ask was, well, can Kai play off the ball? Yes, he can play off the ball, and he's good at it too, because his basketball IQ is through the roof. He knows what to do for the team. He knows, okay, let me give Luka a little breather. Luka's going to go hang on one side of the court, and I can go do my thing. When Luka's not in the game, we'll, depending on the personnel, like Luka, he trusts his teammates when Luka's not out there. There's a great chemistry on court that I think, it's tough because they haven't played a lot of games together this season, but it's only going to get better.
Mm-hmm. We're talking to Mark Cuban here on the Ben and Skin Show. I love getting to know people that I think are engaging and have interesting things to say, but I've been apprehensive to approach Kyrie because I know he's wary of media, but I think he's an exceptionally deep thinker. Yeah. Like, even if you don't agree with what he's thinking, he's put thought into that.
Kyrie's the guy that you went to college with when you're 19 years old and everybody else is talking about beer, girls, and sports. He wants to talk about, what's happening in the world.
Okay, so do you have those conversations with him?
Yeah, I've had them multiple times. Yeah, a lot. Over text, yeah. I mean, I've sat and talked to him about all kinds of stuff. He's a smart, good
conversations with him. And I'm also interested when high-profile, important people disagree on things. Like, how are the conversations like when you guys disagree with one another?
We'll just say we disagree. That's fine. It's just like, hey, it would have been a mess on the vaccination when you were here. And you're like, I know. It would have been a mess, right? It's like,
right.
Fortunately, there's not a pandemic right now, so that's not an issue we have to address.
Right.
Okay, you've known me for a long time, Mark. You know I'm scared of a lot of things. Research shows that more people die via toaster than by shark, but I'm scared to get in the water, okay? I spent a lot of time being worried about Luka leaving the Mavs. At some point, I'm worried that he's going to say, you know what, I got to go. Trade me out of here. I'm just worried. I feel like Dirk is so special and so unique, but not everyone is Dirk.
Luka's a great guy too, right? We got a team of really, really, really good guys. I don't look down the roster and say, oh my God, we just got to deal with this kid, right? Luka's a good guy. He's got a big heart. Now that he's a dad, you can see that's had an impact on him. I asked him how many diapers he's changed, and I'm like, 2, 3, more, right? Luka doesn't think that way. He just wants to win, and I think now he sees that, okay, even when he's not on the court, we have a chance to win every single night. And that wasn't the case in the past. And I think that's a big deal to him. And he loves D-Live. He likes the fact that Kyrie can go out there and get 40. He likes that, Dante Exum's been a revelation, Derrick Jones Jr. So all these guys that we've brought in, I mean, just think, that just changed the kind of the tenor of the team. And we all know, once we get healthy, anything is possible with this team.
So you have a pick to convey, right, to the Knicks.
Yeah.
And then once you convey that pick, you have the ability to trade more picks, right? To go
except
after
for
guys.
We had the Kyrie pick that we gave up too.
Right. Okay. So is it safe to say it'll be easier for you to make a bigger trade in the offseason than it will be at this deadline?
Not necessarily, not because of the picks, but more because of the second
the apron.
Apron, yeah. That's the bigger deal because the rules are so stringent now that impacts not only what we can do, but more importantly, a lot of teams we may have an interest in, right, particularly this coming summer, but even now, the trade rules have changed. So if it's a team that is like way over the second apron, they're limited on what they can do in terms of trade. So, we were talking about yesterday that how the marketplace of trades plays out is going to be really interesting to see.
So do you think it's more likely to make a deal before this deadline or in the offseason?
I don't know. It just depends, right? Because I think it'll get closer to the deadline because there are teams that are close to the second apron or over the second apron that if they're not playing well, they're not going to want to keep on paying that super-duper extraordinary luxury tax and have the limitations on them in terms of team building. So it'll come down a lot to what happens with them.
Okay, so you know how fans and media are. Based on what you just said, everyone's going to go, aha, the Mavs want Draymond Green. Because that's what everybody does. They read between the lines, and I know that you're not allowed to comment on individual players. Do you think this will be a particularly, based on teams and what's happening, do you think this will be a particularly active trade deadline?
I don't know. It's like I said, those teams that are close to the apron, if they're doing really well, it probably won't be. If they're not doing well, it'd probably be more active.
Okay, you're not allowed to talk about it. Like, I can't ask you about a player on another team. We know that.
No.
But as you look at your roster, what is the type of player that you guys feel like you need right now?
I think we need if we can get a big who can also create off the dribble, that'd be a plus.
When you say big, give me a size.
Like 6'8" or bigger.
Yeah, okay. How has your team evolved? I want to ask you this about two guys. So let me go back here, Ben, if you don't mind. How has what have you seen from the growth and change in strategy or demeanor from Jason Kidd since he got here to now? How has he evolved as a coach here?
I mean, I think his assistants have changed. We changed a couple of his assistants, and I think that made a big difference. I think it just calmed things down a little bit and just gave him some complementary skill sets that made his life a little easier, but it still comes down to winning games.
Right.
And, it's if we, get healthy and do great things, everybody's a genius.
Yeah.
And if not.
Okay, then let's talk about the other guy that was added at the same time. What about, have you seen, Nico got here as a guy that had never been in an NBA front office. He had done it with Nike, obviously, and that's the basketball world. How have you seen him change and evolve?
Oh, it's been great. I mean, obviously he's learning the collective bargaining agreement. He put together a team around him. He's very thorough and organized and communicates really well with the players. And, we brought him in because of his relationships with players, and he's lived up to all of that and then some.
I'm sorry, but I'm so sorry. Real quick, he did have a pretty long relationship with Kyrie, correct?
Yeah.
And so I'm assuming that was a big factor.
It didn't hurt. Yeah, it didn't hurt. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
All right, I want to ask you about Cost Plus.
Appreciate that.
Really cool to see what you're doing in the pharmaceutical space. And it's kind of that old thing, I'm putting the system on trial, which is great because everybody overpays for drugs. And the whole goal of Cost Plus is to have the lowest prices on medications, right?
Right.
So how disruptive have you been in that space to this point?
Oh, we've changed that completely. So if you don't know, costplusdrugs.com, what we do is we buy and sell medications. It's really, really straightforward. And what really changed the game is that we're completely transparent. So whatever our cost is, we show you our cost. We mark it up 15%. We charge shipping and handling if it's mail order, or you can pick it up at Dougherty's or Kroger's if you use our discount card. But the impact on pricing has just been insane, and the impact in the industry's been insane because they're drugs that, people, when you get a prescription, the next thing the doctor says is, where's your pharmacy, right?
Yeah.
You have no idea about cost. And, our prices have become so low, relatively speaking. Even if you have decent insurance, there's a really good chance if you go to costplusdrugs.com, our price is going to be lower than your copay. And if you have a specialty medication, or you're taking chemotherapy medications and we carry it, chances are we're hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. I mean, we've had scenarios where people were paying $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 a month, and our price was $30. I mean, it's just insane the way the pharmacy system works. And it's because these companies called pharmacy benefit managers, they just distort pricing. And our transparency has just changed all that. So whether it's you, aunt, uncle, mom, dad, grandpa, grandma, or your company for that matter, like if you self-insure, like with my companies, it was cheaper just to give a credit card to an employee just to go to Cost Plus Drugs and use it there than it was to use the existing insurance. And it's really changed the industry. So now all the big companies, we're coming out with our own version of Cost Plus. Now, they're lying their ass off, right? They call it Cost Plus, but they pick what the cost is, whereas we show you our actual cost. And if our price goes down, we pass it on. And, here's a funny story. You know what tadalafil is?
Oh, I've heard that. Why have I heard that?
Probably because you use it. It's generic Cialis.
Oh, yeah.
And there's another one, generic Viagra. But we have more than 5% of the overall market for both of them. I think it's mostly because it's all my friends.
It's the age group, Mark.
Yeah, But like you can get your generic Cialis or Viagra, not $1 a pill, $3 a pill. You can get like 90 of them for 10 cents each, right? It's $9 plus shipping and handling. So like my buddies, they have them next to the bed and their wives love it, but it's like M&Ms. They're keeping them at home. And so literally our price is so cheap, we've changed the lives of many.
Hey.
So on Cost Plus, your average person that does have some sort of corporate insurance or whatever, it just gets sent to their primary pharmacy. If they want to, do you guys work with insurance companies or no?
Yeah, the insurance companies, only the smaller ones. The big ones are part of the problem. I mean, they're a big part of the problem. They own the pharmacy benefit managers, and they're the ones that do the denials and all that and the pre-auths, and it's just horrible. And so like at my companies, we stopped working. Like we no longer pay insurance premiums to an insurance company because it was just throwing away money. And we just pay the cash price. If you've got something, I'll give you an example of something that happened. We had somebody that we knew that called me and said, look, my wife needs chemotherapy tomorrow, and we can't afford the $18,000 that they were going to charge us. Can you help us at all? And I'm like, okay, let me get one of my guys on, and we'll call the hospital because they had an $18,000 deductible with their insurance company, and they just couldn't afford that deductible. So I'm like, look, the cash price is always better. And so I had one of my guys call the hospital and say, look, if they pay cash, because they had some money, if they pay cash, what would the price be? Not $18,000 for the deductible, $4,000.
Wow.
But that happens all the time.
Yeah.
So if you're out there, like for my son, he needed an X-ray. And my wife's like, okay, I'll get the insurance card and we'll go down there. And I'm like, no, just take the credit card, call them up, ask for a cash price. The best price is always the cash price, and it's almost always going to be cheaper than your deductible at the beginning of the year when you haven't met your deductible yet. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing with medications. Go to costplusdrugs.com. We carry 2,500 meds. We don't carry everything, right? But we're growing our list, and I guarantee you if we carry it, we're saving you money.
Wow. Very cool. And one of the things I wanted to ask you about today, because you're kind of one of our leaders when it comes to technology, should we be concerned about AI or should we be celebrating AI?
A little bit of both. I don't think it's going to be like, oh my God, the Terminators are taking over. There's always going to be an off switch, but it's going to be some crazy stuff that happens. So I'll give you an example. If I wanted to, like, I could take a large language model like ChatGPT and just feed all my emails, all my texts, all the videos that I have of me, everybody else, like this interview, right? Just take them all and ingest it into a version of ChatGPT that I can get, an open source version. And literally, if you started talking to it, and then I could get, one of my companies, Hypervision, does holograms. So I could set it up so that you're talking to my hologram, but you're not talking to me. You're talking to this version of ChatGPT that I've just fed everything about me to, and you wouldn't know it's not me. It's going to be insane. Now, here's where it gets even more insane. So let's just say you have a baby that's being born in 6 months, right? And you have your newborn, and you're like every parent, you're recording everything, taking videos, of everything, and then slowly but surely they paint pictures, they start talking, you're recording it, and they're going to school and writing stuff and everything. By the time if you record all that and then put it into its own little model, right, like ChatGPT and all that stuff, by the time they're 12, 13, 14 years old, they'll have a digital clone of themselves. And they'll be able to talk, well, what would I have thought about this? Or, even be like their own best friend, where you could put it in a robot or put it in a hologram or do it whatever. So hey, I'm just going to hang out with myself. It's going to be insane, right? It's just going to be, or your friends, right? Hey, dude, I can't make it. You can talk to my hologram.
I'm not sure I want to live through this, man.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be so cool,
It's going to get
right?
so weird.
But just remember, our parents, the stuff that you don't live in the world you were born into, right? So think your parents and your grandparents, what was around, and what was happening when they were kids, right? Planes, trains, all that stuff was new, and the internet, right? Streaming, all this stuff. This is just one more thing that's going to be insane, but how people figure out how to use it is going to be even crazier. And literally, it'll be well, Max is off at college at Alabama, and I miss him, and he won't talk to me. Max, can I just talk to your can I talk to Max GPT?
Oh,
and
man.
Max will okay, I'll give you the login, but only for 16 minutes.
Oh, no. I think my wife's going to be the one wanting me to use that.
Right? And it'll be the craziest thing, because it'll be oh, yeah, I haven't talked to my kid who's 22 in 3 years, but I talked to their, their GPT, their large language model, 18 hours a day, and it's just as good.
That's going to be insane when our wife is able to use Cost Plus to give our hologram Viagra for 10 cents.
Yeah, because they don't need you anymore.
Yeah, amazing. Mark, this has been an incredible ride for an hour and a half. It's so nice to have you in studio, talk about all these things. Can't thank you enough.
No, it's been fun, guys, as always. Always fun.
He's now he's just Mark with the Dallas Mavericks. Give it up for Mark Cuban, everybody. Live on 97.1 The Freak, the Ben and Skin Show.